So one of my projects is a chamber style vacuum system for doing like food saving. So I took some steel plate, welded up a chamber, welded up a flange all the way around. I have a gasket material that's coming in, and once this gasket comes in, we'll be able to attach the lid. The gasket will seal all the way around. I'm using a large piece of plywood, thick piece of plywood, to take the pressure. It's going to seal on this all around the perimeter. I'm using this sealer and modifying it so that when the lid closes on top of this, it'll push down and close that switch. But I don't want that switch to activate because that would seal the bag before we pull the vacuum. So I have the wire running outside the box, and I have my load, neutral, and ground. This is the way I can power it from the outside, and of course I'll need to have a safety cover on top of this for no shock or hazards. This is the vacuum port to pull the vacuum in the system. And now what I can do is put the material inside of here that I want to vacuum, close the lid on top of it. It'll push this down, hold it in that position. Then you can come to the machine here, turn this on, pulls the vacuum. I watch my gauge. Once the gauge goes down to the vacuum level I want, I'll energize this. Once this gets energized, that will trip the heating element inside, and once that trips the heating element, that will seal the bag while everything is still under a vacuum. Then I can disengage the pump, release the pressure, and now I have the material inside the bag be 100% sealed under a vacuum. And this system will be a whole lot cheaper and field serviceable. If I ever need to make repairs, something goes wrong, since I built it, I know how to repair it. When I purchased my vacuum pump for the sealer, I didn't realize I needed to have a filter for the exhaust. Once I ran it the first time and saw oil spitting out of it, I thought something was wrong. Started reading through the manual, then I read through some forums and realized that this is kind of normal for vacuum pumps. You're going to have a small mist of vacuum oil spitting out. And normally, if you're outside, probably wouldn't be such a big deal as long as it's eco-friendly oil. But if you're inside, you don't want that mist going everywhere. So you need a filter. Well, I didn't feel like spending 70, 80 bucks for filters for these. So I built my own with some spare parts around the garage and a 3D printed part. So let's install this. I'll let it run, show you that it does work, and then I'll take this apart and show you what's inside. This is the exit port from this filter setup. So I think you can see we are pulling a vacuum. Nothing's coming out, at least very little is coming out. So let me show you what's inside. We have some CPVC fittings. This is a 1/2-inch pipe thread that fits onto the pump. Some brass fittings, some tubing, some more brass fittings and CPVC. And then this black piece here is a 3D printed part out of PLA. So I'm gonna open up the inside and you're gonna see cotton balls come out. We have the pipe protrudes down in, kind of like a bubbler. So that's going to be the vacuum's going to come through there. And then for the filter media, it's literally just cotton balls. And at the bottom, dump these out. I took a sponge, cut a hole in it. So this tube here, push through the hole. And that kind of fits tightly down, kind of snug down inside this And I put the not golf balls, put the little cotton balls around it, pop that on, and I have a little small groove. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. There's a little small groove right here for a tiny O-ring, which I haven't gotten yet, but that O-ring will seal that off. Or worst case, I can literally just put some duct tape around this to kind of seal this. And then this is, again, the inlet port. Vacuum comes through here, pushes down the tube, comes out the bottom of that sponge, goes through the cotton balls, and comes out this extra exit port here. And so that is a homemade oil eliminator filter. I don't know what you want to call that. Oil filter for a vacuum pump. Anyway, it was a whole lot cheaper than spending 70, 80 bucks on a filter online. And this is, most of the parts I already had as far as the PVC fittings. So yeah, you can 3D print a part like this. Doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't even have to seal really tight, but it does work, and a whole lot cheaper.